Yeah, BKFC 10, it's our first show of 2020. This is interesting for me because April of 2010 in South Florida at the Seminole Hard Rock, which is not too far away, that's in Hollywood, Florida. We're in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, was my start with Bellator Fighting Championships. And at that promotion and in South Florida is where I got to know Hector Lombard, it's where I got to know Luis Palomino, and a decade later, almost to the month, we're doing BKFC 10. Start with Hector Lombard in our main event. Hector Lombard is the most ferocious puncher under 200 pounds I've ever seen in MMA. He was the undefeated Bellator 185-pound champion. He fought in Pride. He went to the UFC, relinquished his title to go to the UFC. And even though we were sad to lose him in Bellator, we were so happy for Hector to get that opportunity. The man's a legend, a judo Olympian for Cuba in the 2000 Summer Games. He's been phenomenal. He obviously reached the pinnacles in MMA, reached the pinnacle in judo, and now in bare knuckle fighting championship as a fighter who's still very relevant. Facing Dave Mundell. Dave Mundell was a regional fighter in Florida, an undercard guy, fights twice for us, and now he's in the main event, stepping in for Joe Riggs. And Dave Mundell, you can tell that he's made for bare knuckle. He's fearless. He doesn't see himself as the underdog. I think he'll tell you he's the favorite, and that's the attitude he should have. He's respectful of Hector Lombard without being intimidated. That's the attitude you have to have. Hector Lombard, obviously, if you look at him, who he's fought, where he's fought throughout his career, that certainly tips it towards him. But then you think about it, too. This is a completely different sport, as we have seen. The edge that Dave Mundell has, the number one edge, is that he's done this twice. He's won both of his fights. This is a really intriguing main event. I'm a huge fan of Dave Mundell, and I'm a huge fan of Hector Lombard as fighters and as people. And as a fan of this sport and as the commentator of BKFC, I'm really excited about this bout. Now, on this card, too, we have the opening two quarterfinals of the 155-pound tournament. Quarterfinals 3 and 4 will be on our April show. This is fun for me. Jim Allers right now stands as the favorite simply because he's had 3 fights and he's had 3 wins, but bare knuckle has proven unpredictable. So Johnny Bedford, outside of I think Allers, Bedford has been the fighter who's probably put down the biggest performances, and he's had more longevity in the sport. He started on June 2nd. But Allers has come in, and he has gone through his opponents, including Leonard Garcia, who he really took out. And Leonard Garcia is, of course, a legend in MMA. I'm intrigued by this tournament. I love the fact that David Feldman, the CEO, the founder of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, isn't just handing somebody a title. They have to earn it. Much like we did in Bellator when we started here 10 years ago. You have to win 3 fights through an 8-man tournament to win the title. So this is the start of that. As you look up and down this card, that win versus Abbie Velasquez is the fight that sticks out for me. That win, a really accomplished professional boxer, 20-3, and someone who's still very much, he's had some managerial issues and promotional issues, but this isn't a guy who retired from boxing 10 years ago. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship debut last year against Travis Thompson really showed his class. Travis Thompson's very good and very experienced in this sport. Showed his class, and he also showed his character. Fought so much differently than, say, Pali Malignaggi did against Artem Lobov. And then Abbie Velasquez has established himself as really one of the anchors in Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Very experienced, comes in feeling very confident. This is a fight that I think will produce who Johnny Bedford fights next when he looks to successfully defend his title. I like that fight a lot. Elsewhere on this card, Gustavo Trujillo versus Lorenzo Hunt. Both fighters 1-0 in Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Very intriguing. Top to bottom, this is good. This reminds me of the old Pride cards, and something I'm really proud of was the fact that was the last English language play-by-play in Pride. And if you go back and you look at those Pride cards, you will see that top to bottom, they were great. You know, Alexander Emelianenko might be fight 3 of 9 on the card, or you might see Minowa is the opening bout of the night. I feel like we have that same vibe in BKFC. Not to say Pride is BKFC or BKFC is Pride. I understand different eras in different sports, but just the depth of cards where it's not a great main, a so-so co-main, a feature bout, and a bunch of local ticket sellers. From the moment that we start with bout number 1 all the way through to our main event, these are really competitive fights, really high-level fighters.